Hey everybody, this is Nem, and we're going to do a Black Mage update guide, or not guide, but update video, and we're going to talk about some frequently asked Black Mage questions to kind of keep you guys in the loop, keep you updated, and go from there. So, for Black Mage 7.1, it introduced the changes of Despair being instacast and 2 charges of Leylines. I know, right? 2 charges of Leylines on my Black Mage. 2024, November 18th. What a time to be alive, right? And I think that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, it's not the DPS increase we thought we'd get. It's about a 0.5%. But people are asking a lot of questions. There's some weird builds going around. The Black Mage Discord is still debating and testing all these new lines that they are running into. Hold on. Battle music. And so I'm trying to figure out, I guess, for myself, like, what should we do? What should we not do? When should we do it? And a lot of that has to come down to we don't know yet. We're still testing. And I think it's important during these times of uncertainty with Black Mage to just keep it simple, understand the developer's intentions, where they are now, and where they're going in the future, and why these changes have occurred. So remember, Black Mage is easier to play than it's ever been with Dawn Trail. Easier to play. You don't have to memorize weird lines. You don't have to do complex openers. You don't have to know multiple openers. You have one way to play Black Mage every single time. The second charge of Leylines serves that purpose. The instant cast Despair is a quality of life because adding Flare Stars along cast with Despairs along cast was too much. So that's fixed. But some problems are still here, like the Thunder problem of just not being able to apply Thunder whenever you want is a huge problem. Though the instant cast of it, quality of life is still appreciated, it's a bit of an issue still. So we're going to cover everything going on here with Black Mage right now. Real quick though, let's start with the weird builds kicking around. When you're learning Black Mage, you need to know what do I need to do? What build? What order? What gearing? What melds? Right? Keep it simple. Black Mage Standard is currently the best way to play Black Mage. There's another build kicking around right now that is like Black Mage 100% no casts, all insta casts, all triple casts, all swift casts, and then you transpose and you do one of these, and then you do one of these, and you never stop casting, right? And because of that, it's created every I guess conversation around maybe this is the new non-standard. What it really is it's the players trying to force non-standard into a class that's literally designed to be as simple as possible right now. And that build can get like middle of the pack summoner quality DPS. Sorry, summoners, I don't mean this as an insult, but summoner quality DPS comes from that build. So if you want to do better than that build, just play non-standard correctly. And if you want to do that build because it's fun, well, that's totally fine. It is a fun looking build. It's fun to toy around with. Just know that the damage isn't going to be better than your standard Black Mage, okay? There are some cool non-standard lines on certain fights you can utilize to increase damage right now. There's a lot of them, actually, but they're all very specific use cases that you're going to want to look at the balance, look at the spreadsheet that they have kicking around the lounge channel or the frequently asked questions channel, and actually put them to the test yourself, or just look at a really good log and replicate what people are doing in logs. I find that to be the easiest way to improve Black Mage, to be honest. You just say, this works, this guy's gear works, this guy's rotation works, he's doing a great job. Just try to emulate that, and it works out for you most of the time. And you'll learn a lot along the way as well through osmosis, so it's pretty good. All right, so that weird build aside, when do we use our extra ley lines? So the extra ley lines is coming in as like a charge rather than just being able to, I don't know, like have a shorter cooldown on it. And because of that, it means that it's more forgiving when you can't cast it. You have it on cooldown for one charge. It's okay that you don't use it right away. And that, I believe, is because the developers are pushing the game in a new direction for the next expansion. You might say, what are you talking about, Nem? What? New direction? You're crazy. Hear me out. So there's a lot of whispers, a lot of talk right now about the devs alluding to or confirming potentially job identity balance changes in 8.0. the next expansion for 14. And what I believe would have to come along with that is also raid encounter or boss encounter design changes. We've been using the same timings, the same 2-minute windows, the same jobs for 3 expansions now. Remember, in Shadowbringers, we got Shadowbringer jobs. It was a huge rework to get off of the old school. So we had ARR jobs, became Heavensward, basically the same thing but more. Then Heavensward became Stormblood, which removed some of the clunk, and then they totally declunked the jobs in Shadowbringers. We got Shadowbringers jobs, and then we got Endwalker. What was Endwalker? It was Shadowbringers jobs, the second coming. And then we got Dawntrail, which was Shadowbringers jobs, the third coming of Shadowbringers jobs. So we've been playing the same jobs for 3 expansions, right? The same type. Summoner and Shadowbringers is very similar to Endwalker, is very similar to Dawntrail. And so what we're predicting and what we're seeing some evidence of is that that's going to change in the next expansion. The developers' hands are tied. Like, think about this from a creator perspective. You're like, everything runs on this timing schedule. Our fights are so good because we know and created this great timing schedule that everything flows around. Since everything flows around this schedule, we now have to work with that schedule. So if you want to do something weird or something new or just keep it fresh, you've got to change the way the jobs work, and you've got to change the way the raids work. That's how that would function. So in order to prevent stagnation, I'm predicting that they're probably going to make a change in 8.0 for that reason, which means Black Mage needs to not be punished for its big cooldown only being accessible as it comes off cooldown, because then if it's that way and you can't cast because the raid fight isn't designed for it, you lose out of Leylines casts over the course of a fight. Because why? Because you waited 5 seconds to cast it, you waited 10 seconds to cast it, then you couldn't cast it right away the next time it came up, and eventually you're down a cast by the end of a fight. So in order to make this better, Leylines has 2 charges, and then in order to make a player feedback problem better, we said Flare Star and Despair both being long cast. We asked for Flare Star instant cast. They said no. We want that to feel chunky. We're going to make your old weaker spell, well, not weaker, I guess. Well, it is weaker, yeah. We're going to make your old weaker spell the instant cast one, so you can still feel that chunky Flare Star. But then what ends up happening? You end up swift casting it, so it doesn't really matter, right? But in any case, reduced cast times through Swiftcast. So that's where we're at. It definitely looks like we're going to see some changes. The only problem is this has made Black Mage easier to play, but it hasn't felt complete. It hasn't felt like a fully solved puzzle like in Endwalker. Endwalker, Black Mage was a test exam question, and the community answered the question. They did the math, they worked out the problem, and they came up with non-standard Black Mage and its glorious power. Black Mage was on top through buffs to Xenoglossy and Enochian, and things were fantastic. And they felt balanced. You could take a not Black Mage, and you still got benefit from the res and raid buffs. But if you had a god tier Black Mage, you wanted to see that guy rise to the moon, right? You wanted to watch him go and just be like, holy moly, look at his damage, look at his mechanics, look at his Leylines, right? It was super cool. And now we don't have that. So it's almost like making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich where you only have 1 slice of bread and a jar of jelly. And it's like, yeah, it's easier to make that than a full peanut butter and jelly, right? Like, you just grab a slice of bread, slap some jelly on it, it's done. You don't have to grab a second slice of bread. You don't have to grab peanut butter. You don't have to rinse your knife off to get all that jelly off, so you don't put jelly in the peanut butter jar, right? Unless you're a total savage and you just throw it in there, you know? But the reality is we are still hungry for a full sandwich, but we're only getting half a sandwich here. And that's where Black Mage is probably at. It's a 0.5% overall damage increase. We're happy about at least getting something, but we're not really happy with playing with half a sandwich, you know? So, when to use your Leylines. It lines up best right now at the 0, 5, and 10 mark. So if you see in a party 0, 5, 10, it means you pop your potion at 0, and then at 5 minutes, and then at 10 minutes for a delayed kill time. That makes it so that you get full burst on the kill. On the time the boss dies in your burst window for a better parse. So it lines up with raid damage better now, which is totally like targeted. It's targeted at Ultimate. Ultimate is like the only content where raid buff window DPS is so tight that you have to line up with it. So they're saying Black Mage has to be viable in the new Ultimate. It's got to be something you can pick. This makes it so that you can pick Black Mage, right? It's going to line up. It might sacrifice your personal DPS, but you will get the party DPS out. So that's one thing. Otherwise, you can pot now at 0, 4.5, and 9 minutes, and you can always have a Leylines charge up for those timings. You don't have to delay Leylines because you have a second charge. It just lines up. That's how you use it. On certain fights like Ultimate, we're going to have a specific spot you should probably use it, and it's more flexible on more casual content like the Extreme Trial or like a Savage fight. Savage isn't casual, but on a Savage fight, you still have some flexibility with it, unless you're like at the uppermost trying to parse that 1%, right? So that's kind of where Leylines is at. Use it where you can fit it, learn where it is, check out the balance, and look at some logs to see what other people are doing, because everyone's doing something different right now. Everybody's still learning and testing and figuring this all out, so there's no concrete answers right now. And I know that's not a great answer, but it's the answer that we have. you know, so let's answer some questions people are asking. Some of these are age-old questions for all of Dawn Trail, but they're still being asked, and in fact, with the changes, they're being re-examined. So one of them is, can I skip Paradox? So the Discord groups are going over a spreadsheet right now of non-standard lines, and not ley lines, but by non-standard line, I mean like a spell casting line, like 4 Fire 4s, you know, Paradox, Fire 4, Despair, Flare into Blizzard. That's a quote-unquote line, right? And we're doing non-standard lines here to see what's potentially a higher effective potency per second, which is like, whoa, right? Like, what even is effective potency per second versus potency per second? Well, effective means like it's the difference between theoretical. Like theoretically, you could have a high potency, but it's not feasible to do the thing. So you have to do effective potency, right? What actually impacts it? What buffs do you have? What variables are in place? How much ley line uptime do you actually get? Stuff like that. And so effective potency per second here is kind of the metric that we try to calculate. So because of that, we're re-examining the question of Paradox. People are asking, can I skip Paradox for these crazy lines? And the resounding answer, again, you don't skip Paradox ever. Always cast your Paradox. I don't care if it's Ice Paradox or Fire. You don't skip Paradox. It's a very high potency spell. Cast Paradox. And then on top of that, people are asking again about the Thunder Dot. So remember, in 7.05, they changed the potency of Thunder to be in the ticks of the dot rather than on the upfront damage. Because of that, you don't want to refresh High Thunder too early. You want to wait till 1 or 2 seconds at best, or when it just falls off. So because of that, people are asking the question of, do I need to refresh my Thunder Dot early so that I can transpose for these different lines? And the answer again is use a Xenoglossy for movement, refresh your Thunder at the exact time it needs to be refreshed. You can refresh between 6 to 9 seconds if you have to, and that's like minimizing the damage to your DPS as much as possible, but that's more damage control. Rather than optimization. So for optimization, remember, always use Paradox, reapply your dot when it needs to be reapplied. And if you find yourself needing to use your Thunder to move there, you've got to re-examine your rotation and what you're doing earlier in the fight to prevent that from happening. For your triple casts, they're flexible. You can burn both of them in your opener. You can save one. There's a lot of room for optimization there on a fight-by-fight basis. So keep that in mind. And then something else people are asking is, when do I use Swiftcast now? Because Swiftcast can't be used on Despair anymore, so when are we using it? Let's just keep it very simple. Very simple, guys. Swiftcast goes on Flare Star almost always. Almost always. The other use case for for Swiftcast is on Blizzard 4. You can do some cheeky movement with Blizzard 4. That's a good use. It has a long cast time. You should not be Swift casting Blizzard 3. You should not be triple casting Blizzard 3. All your instants need to be on your spells with longer timers. So Blizzard 4 is okay. Flare Star is okay. Nothing else really needs it. Unless you mess up your movement or you weren't prepared for a weird mechanic or your group is doing a party finder strat that hates black mages and you have to swift cast like a fire 4 to deal with that, happens all the time. But for the most part, no, it's Blizzard 4 or it's Flare Star. Those are what Swiftcast is for. Is that everything that I wanted to cover? I think so. Maybe not. Yeah, I think that's it. Anyways, hopefully that's helpful. Um, at some point, we can go into more concrete rotations when we actually have something that I know will be good advice to give, that I know works. Right now, much better black mages than I are out there figuring that out, testing it, parsing. And when we have that concrete resource for the community, I will be more than happy to cover it. For right now, it's kind of a question mark. Some things look good, and some things even test good, but are they effective in a wide range of scenarios, or is that more for a fight by fight specific guide? I think right now we're at the fight by fight guide where you could say, okay, in the Extreme Trial 3, at this mechanic, do this weird thing, it's higher potency. I think that's where we're at right now, and we don't have a lot of resources around that. So uh, that's it. I really appreciate you guys uh, being here, and thank you so much for the 1,000 subscribers. That's crazy to me. I love interacting with you guys. I love seeing you guys interact together. Even when you're telling me I'm wrong, I'm all for that. Definitely call me out when I'm wrong. Challenge me. I might not always agree, or I might not always have the time to, investigate what you're saying, but I'll do my best as always. I am a human being who plays Black Mage. But I appreciate it. I do. I appreciate you guys being here so much. And remember that we still believe Black Mage is going to rise again. We believe it's going to be king of DPS. We believe it's going to come back and be that amazing solvable riddle instead of like a test with no answer like it is now. We are going to see Black Mage come back and rise to the top. And I'm looking so forward to that, because it was that way in Shadowbringers. It was that way in Endwalker for most of those expansions. Not the whole expansion, but for most of them. And in Dawntrail, I don't know if it's going to do it in Dawntrail or not, but I do believe beyond Dawntrail we will see a big change for Black Mage. So thank you so much, everyone. Glory to Black Mage. Thank you again for the subscribers. Please like and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, we make videos here about Black Mage. We talk. I know it's crazy. And until next time, this is Nem. See ya.